My sisters found out that I am their landlord, and they went nuts because they don't have to pay rent to family. Now they are crying. I bought my home right before the pandemic. During the pandemic, my sister was both hit hard and quickly needed to downsize as their roommates moved back home. I offered them rooms at below market rate and told them they needed to supply their food. The rent was really to help with the increase in bills. They were both still in school at the time, but also working. This arrangement gave them more breathing room financially. Then, a girl they both knew was evicted from her home with her BF because the family they rented from needed the home back. I offered the basement at near market rate, though still a little under, as I felt bad, and it is a basement apartment. After that, a friend of a friend heard about my arrangement and asked if there was any room left. I gave him the attic apartment for another near market rent. Rental agreements were drafted for each person. I explained the basic rules, the rent, and how long they would have if the rent was not received. I told them to read it and return it to me when signed. I left them each with their copy. I collect the rent on the first Saturday of the month. They leave the name blank on the checks for me to fill out, and I always thought it was because they were afraid of misspelling my stupidly unique name and having the check bounce as a result. Not. The issue? I still have one free room in the main part of the house, but I use it as my office and it locks up. My friend knows my sisters, and they got to chatting while out together. They bumped into each other during a day out. My sisters mentioned the extra room, and my friend has a cousin who will be starting college in our city, and asked if my landlord would rent it out to her. I brushed over the comment because I thought there was miscommunication, and told her the room wasn't for rent as I use it for my at-home office. She asked if I was paying for the room, and I told her, why would I pay for a room in a house I own? She got a little quiet, apologized for pushing, and told me the struggle it's been to find a spot for her cousin. A few days ago, my sisters asked me how the talk went, and I said it was okay, but her cousin won't be moving in. They asked why, and I explained to them the situation above. They suggested I move my office to my bedroom or the main room and stop paying rent for an extra room to save costs. When I asked what they meant, they said, well, you do pay rent for the extra space, right? No. I then asked if they knew I was the landlord, and they were floored. They went off on me about how I should have told them, and that they shouldn't have to be paying rent to family. I told them the rent was to cover their increase in bills. I wasn't going to house them for free when they made enough to cover a fair share of the shared expenses. If they would rather full market rent on the rooms they were currently in, I could arrange that come renewal. By now, they could afford it with their jobs, and having saved money on rent for 5 years. They called me an asshole for holding rent above their heads. This then leaked to the tenants as they talked about the issue to their friends in the basement. They came to me to ask that I lower the rent, as if being friends with my sisters was reason enough, as I was the landlord and not somebody they didn't know. The deal they had no longer seems in their favor. I told them they had until December to decide if they wanted a renewal because it was not going to be lowered. They are now acting like I am kicking them out, when all I said was now that they fully understand their position they needed to choose to stay, as with current costs and annual adjustments as needed as was our agreement, or begin the process of looking as rent prices have skyrocketed and it's much harder to find a place. The adjustments do not include knowing I am the landlord. My attic tenant asked if I was cleaning house and begged me not to kick him out. I explained it all in detail, and he was like, wait, I always knew you were my landlord because it's in the rental agreement. My sisters and other pair of tenants started up a group chat to bitch about me being so uncompromising and greedy. They were coming up with ideas to not pay rent or to only pay in part. The basement tenants joked about one of them losing their job so they could ask for leniency since I was too stuck up to be kind to them about the rent. So after taking a night to think about it, I brought the group together to discuss the rent and the situation. My sisters looked smug, and Mr. S basement kept sharing knowing looks. I told them bluntly I was not going to renew leases in December because their actions, attitudes, and lack of consideration have made me feel unvalued, humiliated by their family, and unwelcome in my own home. It was immediate chaos. My sisters grabbed some of the papers, and the 27-year-old started crying because she couldn't afford an apartment on her own. She told me about her student loans and credit card debt. I told her, too bad. I gave you a good deal out of kindness, and you sent an army after me. I would have considered letting you stay if you hadn't been so nasty. I told all of them they could probably swing a 2-bedroom between the 4 of them and got up and left. There were many posts with me tagged or with my name claiming I was an unfit landlord, a slumlord, a greedy bitch, a home wreck, and more. The lawyer sent a cease and desist to everyone who had contacted me. Then he went on and filed for restraining orders, orders of protection, and a claim for slander defamation.